Today we're going to discuss about power sharing. We're not going to discuss power sharing in general, but power sharing actually in government context. This topic is linked to democracy. Do you know what it means? For an example, in India, all our leaders, Prime Minister, the members of Parliament, are chosen by us through voting, through election. Whoever gets the majority forms the government. So a system where people choose their own government is called democracy. But there are different systems in the world. For an example, monarchy, where kings rule and their generations pass on the power. I'm going to explain power sharing through two examples. First is Belgium, which is a country in Europe. And the second one is a neighboring country, Sri Lanka. You'll see how they share power in different ways. Both these countries have different majority and minority groups, and they have a different way of dealing with them. You can decide for yourself which one is better. Now in Belgium, we have different ethnic groups. One group is French-speaking community,
French,
which is
1%
the 40%. The second group is Dutch-speaking
59%
community, which is
Flemish people speak
59% of the
Belgian
population.
people speaks German.
Additionally, we have a small group of German-speaking, which is 1%. Belgium doesn't have its own language. Now, if you see, the majority, 59%, and the minority, 40%, is there. In the capital city of Belgium, Brussels, 80% of the people speak French, and the rest, 20%, speak Dutch language. So you can see here in the capital city, French people are more powerful. Also, French people might be minority of 40% in the entire Belgium country, but they're rich and more powerful as compared to Dutch people, which are majority of 59%, but they are the lower income class. Now I'll explain about Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is a neighbor. In the south, it's an island country of around 2 crore population. Sri Lanka also has different ethnic groups. "74% of Sri Lankans come from Sinhala or Sinhalese community. They have their own culture, their own religion. They are the native Sri Lankans. The second 18% of the group is the Tamil speaking community. Same in India, we have the Tamil language. This group is around 18% of the population. Tamil group has two subgroups. One is the Sri Lankan native Tamil group. The second one are people who have migrated from India during the colonial period for work and for many other reasons. These are two subgroups. The 74% of the Sinhala community follow Buddhist religion. While Tamil have a mixed religion following, Muslim, Hindu, Christian, They are a mixed community. 7% of people in Sri Lanka are Christians, belonging to both Sinhala community or Tamil community. Now, I'm going to explain you about how in Sri Lanka the majority group tries to suppress the rights of minority. This is called majoritarianism. Sri Lanka got its independence in 1948. Before, it was under the British Empire. But, the majority, that is the 74% of the population, the Sinhala community, were more powerful, they had the democratic elections, and then they formed the government. In 1956, an act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the only official language. Overlooking the Tamil language community. Next, more laws were to be passed where the government preferred policies that favored Sinhala applicants for university positions and government jobs, totally ignoring the Tamil community. A new law was passed which announced that the state shall protect and foster Buddhism, ignoring the rights of other minority religion, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, etc. Sri Lankan Tamils felt that none of the major political parties was sensitive to their needs. They did complain and tried to protest, but their rights were ignored. During the 1980s, several political organizations were formed demanding equal rights. And they started protesting against the government, asking for equal opportunities. They continued to protest, but the government ignored their requests. Since they were in power, they were the majority and they could crush the minority. Later on, the distrust between the two communities turned into a widespread conflict. None of the communities have any mutual respect. This became a civil war. Civil war is a violent conflict between two opposing groups within a country that becomes so intense that it appears like a war. There were mass killings and destruction, and thousands of people were killed. But Belgium has a completely different story. Belgium also had a majority group and a minority group, but their government had a constitution. As you can see, this is the word constitution. Constitution is where you keep all your rules and laws. Belgian government amended the constitution many times so that everyone can live together in harmony. Their government prescribes that the number of Dutch and French-speaking ministers shall be equal in the central government. that is part of their constitution to avoid any conflict. The central government also does not try to subordinate the state government, but rather power is shared. And through discussion, problems are solved so that there is a balance of power and nobody feels discriminated. Apart from this, there is a third kind of government called community government. This community government is elected by people belonging to one language community. This government has power regarding cultural, educational, and language related issues. Now you have seen two different models of government and how they deal with the conflicts between majority and minority. What have you learned? In Belgium, the leaders have realized that in order to avoid conflicts, there has to be open discussion and power sharing. The majority group should not undermine the rights of minority. Rather, there should be mutual respect so that all conflicts can be resolved peacefully. On the other hand, in Sri Lanka, the majority group wants to impose its will on the minority, and minority feels discriminated and revolts against. There is no mutual respect, which leads to civil war and massive damage of property and human lives. Why is power sharing desirable? I'll explain. Two main reasons. The first one is prudential reason. Power sharing is good because it helps to reduce the possibility of conflict between social groups. The social conflict can lead to violence and political instability. Imposing the will of majority might look like a good idea in the beginning, but it may lead to problems in the unity of the nation in the long run. The second one is a moral reason. A true democracy is one in which people participate in the government system. Power sharing is the true spirit of democracy. To discriminate or to suppress is not true democracy. In democracy, people have the right to be consulted on how they are to be governed. A legitimate government is one where citizens participate in the system. These are the two main reasons for power sharing. Power sharing can be done in different ways. In the first way, power can be shared among the different organs of the government, such as legislature, executive, and judiciary. Legislature makes laws. For an example, in India, we have parliament to make laws of different kinds and approve law after discussion. Executive is the body which enforces law and deals with public. The third one is judiciary, that is the courts, which interpret the law. Power is shared among all these three organs. This is called horizontal distribution of power. This arrangement is called a system of checks and balances. Through the system, the different organ can check the power of the other organs. For an example, a new law can be checked by all three organs. Power can also be shared in other ways. For an example, central government is at the top, followed by state government of Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan, and different state governments, and power is distributed at the state level. They have their own independent government, but center has given them some power. This system is called the vertical division of power. Earlier we did the horizontal, now this is the vertical division of power. There could be other ways of sharing power. For an example, political parties, Congress, BJP, and many other regional parties can share power to form coalition government in case they have less votes. For an example, if you have the majority of vote, you can make government independently. But if number of votes is less, you can form a coalition government, sharing your power with other parties. The other way of sharing power could be between different religious groups or different work and power can be shared among these groups. Also, linguistic groups can share power. They can work together. For an example, different linguistic communities can share power and work together. Additionally, different associations, traders, businessmen can share power and participate in the government committees, bringing influence on the decision-making process. Now you have seen different ways of sharing power. If there is no power sharing, the entire government can collapse. Now you have learned about Belgium, Sri Lanka, and different ways of power sharing. It's a very important topic. It helps the country remain peaceful. If there is no power sharing, there could be conflicts and other problems. Please don't think that you have learned everything. I've given you only 2 examples. But how is this concept related to India? An in-depth study has to be carried out. You can refer to internet, books, your own friend groups, and you can discuss that how does this happen in India. Also use your own ideas